In the first half, we talk about the bailout and stimulus plans introduced by governments around the world. Will the bailouts work? And who won't be bailed out in 2009? But before we can predict what will happen, we need to know where we are and how we got here. Joining me today to discuss this is Der Spiegel journalist Ulrich Fichtner. Ulrich is such a visionary, he wrote a book about German food culture. Also joining me today, Nigel Eccles, the CEO of prediction markets hubdub.com, where you too can predict the news. And last but certainly not least, comedian extraordinary Carrie Quinlan. Stacy, hit me with the charts. Tell me what's going on.
Well,
oh, goddess of the news.
This is the year when the bailout packages start taking effect. Last year, remember, Gordon Brown saved the world.
And we not only saved the world, saved the banks and saved the banks and led the way. We not only saved the bank.
As you see, the Tories thought it was very funny that he accidentally said he saved the world by saving the bankers. Now, you might recall Thomas Jefferson said, "I sincerely believe that banking institutions are more dangerous to our liberties than standing armies."
Is that true? Are bankers more dangerous than standing armies?
Well, we've seen what happened in September, so there's a grain of truth in there, I guess.
So why are we bailing out these bankers?
You ask a German. I have no idea why we do.
Why did you help us? You assisted us by buying our toxic bonds. Why did you buy our toxic bonds?
Well, there was some.
Did you do your due diligence?
Our bankers are princes of capitalism, and like our princes in the Middle Ages, these are who caused pointless and very expensive wars, and whenever they were captured, they then said, you know, huge ransom had to be paid, and they had to tax the sort of common populace to pay for it. And if those ransoms weren't paid, then there would be huge implications for the country. And it's exactly the same today. Our sort of modern princes rampaging around the world, causing destruction and taxation to pay for their catastrophes.
So we're back to feudalism.
Yes.
Is it feudalism, Carrie? Are we back to feudalism?
Can't we just send the army into the banks?
Oh, I get it.
I think that would be perfect.
It's just like
Bunch of squaddies, storm in, probably went to school with most of the bankers.
All right.
Sort it all out. It'd be fantastic.
Let me ask Ulrich, from a German perspective, of course, in the 1920s, Germany went through hyperinflation. They went through, post-Weimar Republic, massive crash. What people are looking at now is at the other end of these bailouts, these trillions of dollars of bailouts, is hyperinflation. And most often mentioned is Weimar Republic Germany. How does Der Spiegel feel about that? Is that something you've been writing about?
The problem is, as I've said before, that we don't really know how deep this hole is we are staring in and gazing in. So we don't know when all this money that we throw in is coming up.
Yeah.
So that would be the inflation thing. For the time being, we have a recession. That is quite obvious. Prices start to fall. But that could, of course, come back as a big boomerang. And with all these bailout plans, we're talking about billions. You know, the millions of yesterday are the billions of today. Trillions.
Trillions.
No problem.
Multiple of trillions. You're talking about derivative markets and hundreds of trillions of dollars.
Yeah.
While the banking bailouts were going on, Italy intervened at the end of the year, remember, with their own bailout of the Parmesan cheese makers.
That's right.
As you'll see here,
Italy bailed out the Parmesan cheese.
the government of Italy bought 100,000 wheels of Parmesan cheese worth 50 million euros. The Buffalo mozzarella makers are not happy about this. They say, we've never received a bailout in our lives. Now, just this past week, I don't know if you saw, but the protests spread to France.
Yeah.
And the Camembert cheesemakers interrupted as Nicolas Sarkozy speaking.
Sauvez les fabricants de camembert! Longue vie au camembert!
Écoutez.
Let's talk about Gordon Brown versus what's been called in the media Frau 9. Apparently, the Chancellor of Germany is saying that she doesn't want to come forward with a lot of bailout money. She's put her stiletto heel down and said 9, and there's some tension, some geopolitical tension, you might call it. What's going on with Frau 9?
Well, what is going on? I would say that the German government was sort of reluctant by the end of last year to pump in money into the big hole. We don't know how deep this hole is, and we don't know anything about it actually up until today. So all the other governments have resampled their measurements and have shown to the world, well, we are so active, we do such a lot of things, and we save the world again. The Germans said, well, well, let's wait a second. I don't know what's going on. So I think it's quite reasonable to say, let's think about it first. Let's analyze the situation. Let's see what we have here before we spend these immense amounts of money. So that's what they did. I guess we'll see some action by the end of January, and some more action, let's say. And in the end, as always, they will line up and having a compromise.
Well, let's look at Pierre Steinbrück, the finance minister for Germany.
Yeah.
Now, he was complaining about the size of the British bailouts of the banks. And he said all this will do is raise Britain's debt to a level that will take a generation to pay off. Now, Nicolas Sarkozy, the president of France, backed the Brits in this and said not doing anything now would have cost us much more. We're not going to sacrifice the present for the future, which is very contrary to what the Germans feel is you shouldn't sacrifice the future for the present.
Well, I think the Germans are taking a very sober view about it. I think Bush was right about one thing. Wall Street did get drunk, but what's happening now is the government has to keep the party going because nobody wants to go cold turkey.
Well, actually, we have a secret intelligence agency from America who has the intelligence on this information right here. This might explain Germany's reluctance to engage with the rest of us bailouts. So, as you see, Germany, number 2 with the current account balance. That's $254 billion of cash just sitting there, Ulrich, waiting for... Wait till we get to the bottom. Oh, there we are. United States down at the bottom. United Kingdom, second from the bottom. You see, you could bail out the entire United Kingdom with just half of your savings.
Yeah, that's exactly what they want.
Give us your money. Don't you want any more of our products? Okay, we got some great Hollywood movies.
If you look at it again, you actually see that you could bail out the United Kingdom and France together. You could pay off their entire national debt.
Carrie, you Brits must want some of that German money.
Always have, always will. I think there's a proud tradition of France and Britain arguing with Germany, isn't there? This time the Germans are right, which is tragic. But I mean, if I was going to say, if there is a problem about bailing out Britain and France, would you consider just bailing out Britain? Because I'd be happy to make that deal right here, right now.
Well, we'll try.
Excellent.
I don't know. I mean, what do you say about, yes, we are a saving country, I don't know, and the population maybe is quite conservative in these things in money-wise. But, I mean, on the other hand, have you ever heard about it, that Germany is the most successful exporting nation in the world? I mean, there's something going on, obviously, or there's some relationship between this sheet, what you have shown, and the overall performance in the world economy.
Huge export market.
Yeah,
huge manufacturing base. Now, speaking of banking, yes, darling, yes, sweet pea, yes, yes, goddess of the data, Stacey Herbert, clairvoyant, seer of all.
I think also an explanation for the Germans' reluctance to part with their money could have something to do with your last trip to Germany.
Oh, yeah, that's right. Remember. Check it out. You're going to love this. I was in Germany preaching to the German people. Play this clip. You're going to get exactly where we're coming from. German people, I say, Alan Greenspan and Ben Bernanke want you to swap your valuable gold for U.S. Treasury bonds and U.S. dollars that are entirely worthless. Don't do it, German people. Hold on to your gold. Gold has value. The U.S. dollar has no value. It's the devil's currency. Hold on to your gold, German people. They hold on to their gold.
Do you think it was you caused that?
Yeah, I'd like to think I did. I had a part in the shifting the tide of savings in the world. I was out there, you know, bringing my experience to bear.
Was that reported in Der Spiegel?
Well, I guess so. I don't know. Maybe on the website.
Possibly.
I guess it would take quite a salesman to kind of go to your typical German saver and say, yes, we know you like a very safe savings account, but would you not like some toxic mortgage debt instead, which is very high yielding, and we say it's worth this, and you might get your money back. that might be quite a sell.
But some German banks still bought a lot of these derivative products.
Well, that is very true.
And they had a couple of bankruptcies, right?
And now they're the one who have all the clues of how to save the situation.
Right.
That is the overall structure that I really like about this. I mean, all these politicians like Gordon Brown, who actually really helped build the whole system that led into the catastrophe. He is now, I mean, in charge, and he knows exactly what to do.
Right.
That is nice. And all the others, I mean, our banking gurus like Mr. Ackermann from Deutsche Bank, you know, he knows exactly what to do. He gives one advice after the other. But, well, funnily, before that, he wasn't that smart.
Alrighty, well, you know, I feel a prediction coming on. It's coming to me now. It speaks to me. It's arriving. Yes, yes, I see it clearly now.
What is it?
The Oracle predicts that the Buffalo mozzarella cheesemakers, they compete with the Parmesan cheesemakers, apparently they're going to get a bailout after forming their own bank.
You have to form a bank.
How about that? The Buffalo cheesemakers are going to create their own bank and compete with the Parmesan cheesemakers. Well, the Oracle is, of course, omniscient, and we'll see whether that turns out to be true, but his track record so far is pretty good. Bet almost as good as HubDub.com, Nigel Eccles.
Thank you,
All righty, well, that's it for the first half of the show. Stay tuned for when we return.